first show, or one of my most memorable, quote unquote, in training shows ever. 25 years ago, I guess, when I first started performing, I had worked 2 or 3 years in comedy clubs primarily, but the opportunities were limited at that time for black comics. So a lot of times we would go to dance clubs and they would give us a gig and they'd throw you out there. Stop the music, everybody mad because they'd stop dancing and they'd throw you up there. So a guy called me and asked me to do 2 shows. I said, sure, because at that time at comedy shows, Friday nights I'd do 4 shows, Saturday night 4 shows, and sometimes 14, 15 shows a week. So he said, I want you to do 2 tonight. So I said, okay. About 11 o'clock, they cut the music off and they throw me out there. I had been performing at that time maybe 2 or 3 years. So I had 30 good minutes of material. And I went out and I did that 30 minutes, and the people, you know, they tolerated me even if they didn't embrace me. I go back to the dressing room, lay down, take a nap, waiting to do the second show, which is going to be at about 1 in the morning. He wakes me up about 12:30. Okay, we're ready for the second show. Having done comedy clubs, I'm coming out to do the second show thinking I'm going to have a different crowd. And as I approach the mic, I'm seeing people that were at the first show. And by the time I reach the mic, it occurs to me, these are the same people. But I've already told all of the jokes. I only had 30 minutes of material. So I said, well, I'm gonna get this money. So I go up and I start to tell my jokes backwards. And man, they were hollering, we heard that, man, get out of here, man.
You need to close it first.
Ran me out of there.
You need to close it first.
I did my clothes. I said, that's all I can do. I got 30 minutes of material. Hey, this is it. And I told my material backwards, and by the time I finished, man, it was all I could do to get out of there without hot sauce and chicken stains all over me. They were throwing chicken, man.
So those were the days.
Those were the days, man.
Man, that's funny.
That was one for the history books. And from that, I said I'd never have to do 30 minutes and not have an hour of material. And it's funny because to this day, of course I only do an hour, hour and a half at a time, but if I chose, I could do 4 or 5 hours easy.
They asked me what I would talk about, and I said I always talk about the same thing, the truth. And nothing but the naked truth. I don't try to camouflage it or nothing. That's the best way to be in my mind, naked and true. Look around. Most of the people in here look good, but you're all dressed up, camouflaged in your clothes. Look around again and imagine the same folks sitting next to you, naked.
I'm approaching 30 years. I actually started in Chicago, and at that time there weren't a lot of places where black comics could perform. So I started off doing private functions and so forth, primarily banquets and so forth. And then one thing led to another, and as black comedy clubs started to open, then I got on that scene, and then it was later on really when we started to be accepted into what is now called mainstream rooms. We did, this was mostly at the Comedy Act Theater. All jokes aside, was in Chicago. Comedy Act Theater, Michael Williams. Comedy Act Theater, there was one in Los Angeles and one in Atlanta. And most of us came up through there. Robin Harris, D.L. Hughley, Chris Tucker, Steve Harvey. Steve was slightly ahead of us. Cedric. Guys that have gone on to do some very good things, man. We crossed paths with Chris Rock from time to time. Initially, I think it was a combination of church Baptist, and initially I always declared that if I were to do 15 minutes, I would have at least 15 minutes of material where I have seen, and even at that time had seen comics do things as a crutch, dance for 5, then do 10 minutes of material, or play a record, and I just never was a big fan of that. Some of my favorites were Dick Gregory and guys like that had substance, you know, whether I agree with their style or not. Bill Cosby, some of the guys that had substance like that, Richard Pryor had substance if you could see to the substance. And so I was against competitions during that time. But when I got to a certain point, and my approach to the quote-unquote competitions became, well, just do your thing and let the chips fall. And it just happens that by so doing, I won. But I really did not go in with, let me go down here and win this competition in mind.
You're gonna act like we don't need no free health insurance. You know we need it. Most of us ain't got health insurance. Some of us ain't got life insurance. Some of us ain't even got car insurance. Driving around trying to make damn sure you don't damn hit nothing. And you know your mom and daddy didn't have no health insurance. Mine didn't. That's why a lot of us walking around limping and stuff. Bald headed, 17 or 18 years old, one ear up higher than the other ear, elbow in front of your arm. It wasn't some incurable disease that latched a hold of your ass. No, you was a victim. Your ass was a victim of home remedies. That's what happened to your ass.
I've seen 2 or 3 cycles, man. A lot of people in the business, a lot of comics have said that it's, see, there were fewer opportunities back then. So you could say that there's been this expansion, because when a lot more opportunities came, and I'll buy into this some, the talent got diluted. It's an expansion team. You know, you got 500 players, now you got 600, now you got 550. It's just inevitable. The talent is going to go down. So when, while Def Jam and ComicView were vehicles for us that formerly we did not have, once we had them, it almost became, it almost lowered, if I can say so, after a while, it almost lowered the standard.
You ain't had no health insurance, but with Bill Clinton's plan, everybody had a chance. Could have went back and got some stuff straightened out. Could have went back and got your little baby daughter's eyes uncrossed so she could see how many folk are really in the family like everybody else. She's 14 years old thinking there's 4 sets of twins.
Yeah, I like acting, but I think you got two kinds of comics. I think you have the road warriors, the comics at heart, and then you have comics who use it as a vehicle. I don't think anything is wrong with either one, but I'm a comic at heart. I enjoyed acting, you know. I was on Grace Under Fire for a year. I learned more. In fact, I learned from my acting stuff that I could employ in my stand-up, and vice versa. But I would say I took more from acting than I brought to acting. Next Friday, Friday after next, Grace Under Fire for a year, and the shows that I've done, I've enjoyed the acting. The major difference is in stand-up, which is a quote-unquote act, but you yourself, you are the producer, you are the writer, and you are the actor. And so anything that's said, you basically have responsibility for it, as opposed to acting where you may or may not agree with what you're actually saying.
Could have went back and got your mama's crooked arm straightened out. Mama had a stroke, you put her in the hospital, but you snuck her out before the therapy process. Trying to save $22 a day and left your mama crippled for life. Could have went back and got the moles in between your thighs removed so you could walk for more than 5 minutes at a time. Them big-ass keloids cut off the side of your head. Somebody gonna snatch one of them and try to put out a fire or something. You should have voted yeah for the Bill Clinton health plan.
You know, Red Fox said once, that all the jokes have been told, but there couldn't be a better time as far as life and what is going on there. The act, life itself presents comical situations just on a daily basis. I couldn't think of a better time to be a comic. And then with access to social media, I remember when I used to have to read 8 or 9 newspapers a day, but now you can, you know, you got Google, you got news on your telephone, you got 400 or 500 television channels to watch. So the material, the access to the material is more readily available. And I'm not against silly. I'm not against silly at all, man. Some silly guys make me laugh. But I think that mature comedy is thought-provoking, and it's a wonderful vehicle to express, if you will, what you think the state of the world is. I mean, and that's what I do. I critique the state of the world from my perspective. You know, I've been told, DC, you get more business if you crossed over. I don't have no desire to cross over. I think the people that understand my perspective will cross over and understand where I'm coming from. I can only deliver my opinion as a black man in America. I cannot deliver an opinion as a white person in America. I have no hate or ill will toward anybody. But it would be hypocritical of me to try to appease somebody by diverting my opinion or what have you.
Talking about animal rights. Animal rights? We ain't got all our rights yet. Hey, that time, I'm telling them about them news, and I didn't like that movie they made either, Free Willy. A damn fish, free my Uncle Willie. His ass been locked up for 5 years. This is DC Curry, and you're watching Reelblack.
He was like, I don't know the name of the show, but I'm like, you know, I'm working on the show, and if we get it, I'm down. The show was Chappelle's Show, and that was the beginning of my involvement on the Chappelle Show.
Def Comedy Jam inspired a lot of people. Def Comedy Jam made HBO present in a lot of black households. Because, you know, black people, when I heard about Def Comedy Jam, people want to get HBO so you can see Def Comedy Jam.